There we go. Hi, everybody. Candy May. This is second day of boot camp. And this is, we had a really great mini breakout session just before this, but this is the one I have been dying to hear about. And it's by Jennifer Wise. She lives in Colorado. She's been a heritage maker for a long time. She's really picky about how she preserves her memories. So the fact that she has chosen heritage makers to do it is a super huge honor to me. She is an amazing heritage makers consultant. She takes care of her clients and customers. She just goes all out, and we can learn a lot from her. But today her topic is how photos, memories, and stories improve emotional well-being. Now, you've been on the boot camp for a day, 2 days now, and you've seen that. We've demonstrated over and over. Jennifer's going to bring a little more clarity to that today, and I cannot wait. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for being on today. Mother of four?
Me. Three. I got three.
Mother of three, happily married, living in Colorado, and she's also a graduate student. So she's a busy lady.
I am. Yeah, I've been doing American Sign Language stuff in school all day. So it's really kind of fun for me to be like, oh, hey, let me get back to my other love.
Yeah.
Photos and stories. So it's a total different change for me today. So I'm really excited to be able to get into that today.
Thanks.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with sharing my screen. And Candy, thanks so much for inviting me to do this. This is something that I just am totally passionate about. And like you said, if you've been here, let me make sure that it's changed over to the other. Yeah, if you've been here at boot camp, you probably already have like a little inkling of this. Like, yeah, I do feel better when I get into my photos and memories and stories. But what you're going to learn right now is something like, because I was like that too. I was like, well, of course it's wonderful, right? But there are actually some significant studies that have been done that kind of back up how you're feeling right now. So whether you're watching this as somebody who is totally committed to the idea that your photos and memories and stories are super important, or you just kind of feel like they probably are, but like you need kind of an oomph, you need a little push to get there. This will be for all of you, no matter where you are. And there is a chat. Oh yes, sorry. I will definitely speak up. Thank you.
And definitely over your speaker because it is coming in and out just a little.
Yeah, let's make sure that is fixed. I got a new computer for Christmas and it's supposed to like solve all of these problems. And then it didn't. So is that better?
I think that is better.
Okay, please stop me if it isn't, because I'm going to turn my laptop a little bit if it's not. Okay. But yeah, please use the chat box or just anything. And we'll see if that will help. Let me move actually my other thing here. Okay. Is that good?
Yeah, I think that's good. I'll stop you if it's not.
Yeah, please stop me. Yeah, so Kathy, who just put her comment in the chat, if you missed it before, I was just saying that why ever you're here, even if you already know that your photos, memories, and stories are amazing and they're so good for you, or you're just kind of not sure and you want to learn a little bit more, however you are attending this, however you're watching it, you are going to learn a little bit more. Okay, good. Kathy says it's better. Hallelujah. Thank you. All right. So, like I said, we're going to talk about photos, memories, and stories today. So we all have them, right? It's not something you have to make much of an effort to get. You have photos, you have memories, and you have stories. But not everyone pays as much attention to them as we should. But what it really comes down to, though, is that everyone has a story. Everyone has had, think about it, okay? Think about your own life. Everyone has had a defining moment, a courageous decision, a hard time overcoming something tough. Everyone has had something that she really wanted work out beautifully. And everyone has had something that she really wanted not work out at all. So everyone has something that has influenced or even defined her. And that's your story. So everyone has a story, but not everyone tells it. So we're going to look at why we should. There's a lot of power in stories. Our stories connect us. They connect us to ourselves. They connect us to people around us. Stories foster compassion, understanding, and even healing. I'm going to show you an example of that, where that actually happened in my life in just a minute. Stories bond us to other people. If you have a shared experience with another person, that's kind of your story with them, and that creates a connection between the two of you, right? Stories can even contribute to greater compassion for ourselves, which I think is one of the most powerful things about story. We don't talk very much about having compassion for our own selves, and I'll have to come back and give a whole nother talk on that, because I think that's very, very powerful, and that's what your story can do for you. I love this quote by Marjorie Pay Hinckley. She said, "There isn't a person you wouldn't love if you could read their story." And again, I think that's the power of a story. It makes that connection, it gives compassion, and it helps you understand another person. Here are a couple of other things to think about when we're talking about the power of our stories. Rhonda Lauritsen is a professional family storyteller, and she looks at stories this way. She says stories have the power to change people. Have you ever thought about that? They actually can change you. It can change your perspective. It can change the way you approach life. Carrie MacArthur is a personal power coach, and she says about stories, our stories give us something to stand on. So even if your story is, really hard, if you have something in your story that's really hard, it's like a foundation, right? That then you can jump off from there. You can build on that. You can stand on that. So of course, life has ups and downs, right? Good things and bad things. And when you tell your own story, you choose what to include and you choose what to focus on, because you have power when you're telling your own story. You get to be the one to give meaning to your life's events. A good thing, a bad thing, a hard thing, an easy thing, you're the one who chooses what that means in your life. Brene Brown said it this way: when we deny our stories, they define us. When we own our stories, we get to create a brave new ending. So again, there is the power in your story. So, all right, when you're telling your story, what do you do with the good and the bad? I love this perspective. So think about this. Every single story, true stories, fairy tales, life stories, every single story has good parts and bad parts. Things we want to remember, things we'd like to forget, but there is value in every part of every story. I love this explanation of that from FamilySearch.org. Learning about both the good and the bad in our history can inspire us to keep doing good with and for our fellow men and women. We can learn to have more compassion and empathy for all affected by unfair aspects of life. I think that's one of the greatest things about bad things that happen to us, right? I have right now a personal disappointment that's really hard for me. And when I see other people who have that same disappointment, I go, oh yeah, it helps me to be compassionate. It helps me to not judge them, right? Because it's happening to me too. And so, right. So even unfair things, bad things, struggles have value because they define us and can help us learn. All right. Rachel Trotter is a professional storyteller. She actually works with Rhonda Lauritsen, who we talked about earlier. And here's what she says about telling all whatever you want to tell of your story. We all have different ways we tackle the different parts of life. Some of us tell anyone who will listen, while others bury it deep in our souls. Some of us go into deep depression, while others just keep getting up over and over again. However we deal with it, I think it is vital that we can find a way to talk about it. If we can't share it at the time it is happening, we need to put a voice to it sometime in our lives, if for no other reason than to teach those who come after us that we are not alone in our trials. I love that, because I think that's one of the most powerful parts of our stories when we share it, not just when we have it, right? But when we share it, we're letting everyone else know that they're not alone. Oh, I made it through a tough time too. Oh, this great thing happened to me too. All right, so I want to show you a story that really helped me. This is you can see in front of you a picture of my mom's storybook. I'm going to stop my screen share for just a second so I can show it to you a little closer. So I used a template from Heritage Makers, and I created this storybook about my mom. The reason that it came about is because I don't know, probably like 6 months or so before she passed away, she gave me 2 or 3 boxes of just stuff, like mementos, like every thank you note she'd ever been given, some awards she'd gotten. I found in there letters that she had written to her parents in college, and then her mom saved them and gave them back to her. So I had those too in the little boxes. So, you know, I was going through, I didn't do anything with the boxes until after she passed away, just because, I don't know, I was trying to figure out what to do. Like, she was just like, she gave me the boxes and she said, do something with it. So I was like, well, okay. So I had to kind of think about it. You know, I sat on it for about a year. And then about a year after she passed away, I thought, I'm going to just make from her mementos her life storybook. So she and my dad were always good at, you know, keeping photo albums and stuff like that. So it wasn't like I had a ton of, you know, photos that didn't have a place to go or whatever. But I had, like I said, I had letters, like here's a, oops, sorry, postcard that she sent her parents. That's a little picture of her. She was a missionary at the time. There's letters, like I said, from, you can see that, from that she had typed and sent home to her mom and dad. There were recipes in there. She collected recipes. And so I had like all of this stuff. So I scanned it and organized it, you know, so that it started with her birth and ended with her passing. And the main thing that I want to tell you about this is that this telling her story in my own words was the most healing thing. And I'm sorry, I'll probably cry. I do that every time I talk about this book, but it was the most healing thing for me. Sorry, because it just made me not miss her as much. I still miss her, but it helped me focus on all the good stuff, and it helped me not focus on what I lost, but what I have, what I gained from my mom. So this is your little bawling example of what kind of power stories really have. And this wasn't even my story. This was somebody else's story who, you know, meant a lot to me and who affected my life. And so by telling her story, I could piece together things and like make sense of life, right? And I could appreciate things that I wasn't really appreciating before. I was just focused on being sad, right? But I was telling her story helped me focus on, she was funny, she was talented, she loved to do little cute things for her grandkids, you know, and so it helped me immensely to focus on the good instead of the loss. And so that is one example. There are, I'm sure, a million of the power of someone's story, even if it's not even yours. All right, so that's the power of stories. They can change you. They can help you. They can heal you. They can bless you. They can make you happy.
It can help you make
great
sense of things, right? You tell,
right, it helps you make sense of things. Yeah.
Tell stories in your life in different ways too. Like you might tell a tragedy, and then as you gain clarity, you might find that it's kind of humorous, or that it
exactly
was, or that it was an inspirational story rather than a tragedy, right?
Exactly. And like you said, like it helps you make sense of it. Like, what does this event mean to me? And when you actually write it down, you can find out what it means to you, right? And you can make it mean, oh, well, that was actually kind of funny, or that was actually meaningful, even though it was hard, or yeah, that's a great point. Thank you. So that's the power of stories. So now I want to look at the power of photos. So like I said, if you're watching this, you probably have an inkling that like there's photos are kind of a big deal, right? So when you think about this, have you ever pulled out a photo of a special person or a happy time and just been taken right back to that moment? Has that ever happened to you?
I think the ladies demonstrated that today several times.
Yeah.
Pictures of doing things with their grandchildren, or Trisha just shared about her husband.
Mhm.
Very powerful.
And you're just right there again.
Yep.
And there's a mood boost that comes with that. So if you felt that, I want to tell you that you're not imagining it. It's not just you. So I'm going to tell you some cool stuff about photos. So I don't know if you've read The Happiness Project or heard about it. A lot of people have. It's pretty popular. But Gretchen Rubin, who's the author of that, says, pictures make us happy in many ways. And she points out 4 different ways. She says, pictures help us remember people, places, and activities that we love. Pictures help us remember happy times from the past, which actually helps us feel happier in the present. She said a photo can sometimes replace a thing we love, right? So think of something that's broken or old, or that your first car that you sold because it was falling apart or whatever, but you loved it, right? It can also help you. So when we're talking about it can replace the thing we love, think of something broken, old, or something that's just impractical to keep, right? You get like the big poster of somebody asking you to prom or whatever, and you're like, that's gotta go in the garbage. But a photo lets it live on forever. One of the other ways that Gretchen Rubin says that pictures make us happy is that taking photos increases creativity, which is actually good for your brain. It's also good for your soul, but she mentions that it's good for your brain. All right, so this one, though, is one of my favorite studies about photos. Dr. Peter Naish did a study on how viewing photos lifts your mood. So like I said, if you feel like a mood boost when you look at your pictures, it's not just you. You're not making it up. So he compared it to other common ways of lifting your mood. What do you do that normally make yourself feel better?
Eat,
drink, watch TV or movies, listen to music, right? So he compared those common things of how we make ourselves feel better to looking at your pictures. And here's what he found. Love this. Eating, drinking, watching TV or movies, and listening to music increase people's moods by 1%. So that's good, right? You do feel better, right? Looking at their pictures increase people's moods by 11%.
Wow.
So what that means is that looking at your pictures can make you over 10 times happier than the common things that you probably try, right?
That's cool.
So keep that in mind. He also did a study on the relationship between looking at your pictures and stress. Who is stressed? Just raise your hand. If you feel stressed a couple of times a week, this is for you. Dr. Naish not only studied how much pictures increase happiness, but also how much they increase relaxation. And then he compared them to the same things that we just talked about: eating, drinking, watching TV or movies, listening to music. Here's what he found. After viewing their photos, people reported a 22% increase in relaxation. Okay. Drinking wine came in next, but it was only at about half the rate as photos, 14%. And eating chocolate, which is my go-to, was reported to have just an 8% increase in relaxation. Okay, let all that sink in for a second. That means your pictures are statistically proven to make you feel better than chocolate. To me, that's kind of a big deal. Also, it's probably a little cheaper than Lindor chocolates or whatever. All right, so we've talked about stories, we've talked about photos. So now let's put them together. What if you record your stories with your photos? Okay, we know stories are good for us. We know photos are good for us. So what about the two of them together? So I love this perspective from Judy Weiser. She's a photo therapist. Did you guys know there's such a thing as a photo therapist?
No.
Yeah, some therapists will use photos in their therapy because guess what? They're therapeutic. They help people. So anyway, here's what she said. Viewing pictures and telling stories about them is emotionally healthy. It gives us a sense of who we are, where we came from, what has happened in the past that has put us on this path, and gives us a way to do some imagining about where we might be going. Do you know there's that much power in your pictures and your stories? There is. So the thing that's great about that is it's so good for you. Okay, we just talked about that. It's so good for you. But here's where it gets cooler. Recording your stories with your photos benefits you in all the ways we've talked about so far. But there's more. It can help those who love you. It can potentially even help your children and grandchildren. So the perfect example of that is my mom's book. That was not my story. I mean, I suppose it's a little bit of my story, right? My life is part of her life, right? But her story benefits me, a person who loves her, right? It's something that I pull out on Mother's Day because I can't call her. It's something that I can give to my kids. Oh, remember when we did this? And it keeps that connection with grandma, even though she doesn't live here anymore. All right. There have been some really neat studies about stories and photos and kind of the combination of that. A study published in the Journal of Family Life in 2010 found that teenagers who knew more stories about their family were more resilient in the face of adversity. They showed higher levels of emotional well-being and also higher levels of identity achievement. Okay, they know who they are. And when you know who you are, life is a little bit easier. So that study, that 2010 study that I just talked about, has been kind of the go-to for a book written by Bruce Feiler. He wrote The Secrets of Happy Families, Secrets to Happy Families, which was a New York Times bestselling book. And he said in that book that children with the most self-confidence have a strong, what he calls intergenerational self. So when you as a kid connect with your parents and your grandparents and your great-grandparents, when you know their stories, when you know where they came from, what they made it through and stuff like that, you have a stronger sense of self-confidence. This is what he said in his book. Kids know they belong to something bigger than themselves. It gives kids power and perspective. So the initial study that many later studies are based on found that children who know a lot about their families, especially stories of overcoming hardships, doing the right thing when it's unpopular, making tough choices, starting from nothing, stuff like that. Children who know a lot about their families have a stronger sense of control over their lives, do better when faced with challenges, and have higher self-esteem. They believe that they can do it because their mom or their grandpa or their great-grandma did it too. Back to Bruce Feiler, he said this really incredible thing in his book. Knowing more about family history is the single biggest predictor of a child's emotional well-being. Right?
Wow.
I think that's so great. I mean, I hope that everyone listening is kind of thinking like, I kind of knew that. Like, yeah, that's been my experience. No wonder. That makes a lot of sense.
That's
Right?
neat. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just thought that was really powerful. Sometimes I think scrapbooking or family history or different things, they kind of get put in boxes. Oh, they're only for certain people. They're just for people who like to do it or have the time or blah blah. No, it's for everybody. It's so much more powerful than you think it is, and it means so much more, not just to you and your heart, which is a considerable thing, but to everybody, to your family, to people who love you, to people you love. All right, so in conclusion, photos, memories, and stories, but only if they're recorded, are good for your emotional well-being. And they're good for theirs, whoever that theirs is for you, your kids, grandkids, siblings, whoever that is. So they really are good for your heart and soul, and they're good for family relationships. They're good for kids. They're good for everybody. All right, this was, I can't remember. I think this was also from familysearch.org. I can't remember, but it was an article written by Angie Lucas, and she said about the combining writing your story and putting some photos in there. You'll benefit from the practice of reflecting over your life, collecting your thoughts, and making sense of your experiences. The very act of writing things down is therapeutic. It can provide a sense of purpose and control. It may also reveal patterns in your life, increase your gratitude, foster a stronger sense of self, and even make you happier and more successful in your daily life. So anyone for happier? Anyone for more successful in your daily life? It's photos and stories. It's reflecting on your life. Oh, Trisha says in her chat, reminds me of our Power of Story book we had and the one Doug Cloward wrote for us. Yeah, it's legit. It's the real deal. There really is significant power to that. All right, so we're at time. I've shared with you all the things that I think are amazing about photos and stories. And so I appreciate you being here and listening to all these things I'm crazy passionate about. It's so nice when I can share them with other people. So I want to leave you with this thought. Happiness is taking pictures. Joy is seeing them. Don't just leave them on your phone. They got to be in a something, a 2020 yearbook, a mom's life storybook, wherever it is, you can put your hands on them. Because when you put your hands on them, it gets to your heart. Thanks for inviting me, Candy.
Thank you, Jennifer. That was phenomenal. And you're so right. I think about recently how Facebook, has started showing pictures from 4 years ago. Like I get that on my feed all the time. It's like this special.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys, look at this. Oh my gosh. And I'm showing the children. And if that sparks that much joy, imagine something more permanent with the story, like you pointed out. And so on this boot camp, if you guys haven't realized by now that the story and the photo together help with emotional well-being, I think Jennifer proving that with all her research, she's a research girl, really cemented that idea. And it's something that we have to offer the world, whether it's just on a personal level by doing it for our own families and ourselves, or if we do like Heidi just described, of sharing the stories of elderly or people that are in need. There's so many opportunities to do this. Wow. Yay.
Yeah.
So
Thank you. And thanks for all the comments. You're welcome.